Hi, are you new to my channel? Then welcome. Make sure your notification turned on so that you don't miss out on the series of my 5 stages of grief, which are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Today we'll be focusing on the second stage, which is anger. Anger often follows denial, but not everyone experiences this stage, or it can be very brief. In 1969, the Swiss psychologist Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote a book called Living with Death and Dying. This is where she first mentioned the 5 stages of grief. Here I share my own understanding of Kubler-Ross's stages to help my clients to make sense of their grief. So let's begin. The anger stage of grief is when we are beginning to move out of the denial and shock stage. We are hit by an enormous amount of anger. I hear many of my clients say, "I never got to say goodbye," or "I should have been a little nicer to him," or "If I had only stopped them from going to school on that trip, or going to work, I could have prevented them from that accident," or "I should have spent more time." Or I hear them say, "How dare you leave me and the children alone?" Or "How dare you leave me when you promised me you would never leave me?" Or "It's the medical team's fault, they should have taken care of her." Or "God, how could you take them or her away from me, and how can you be so heartless?" Or "God, why did you not answer my prayers?" So by focusing on the blame, we can distract ourselves from the pain, offering us a buffer from the tremendous hurt until we are ready to move closer to the pain. Let me reassure you that these emotional responses are very common, and these are part of the grieving process that many people go through. And instead of burying these feelings of anger and frustration inside, it is very healthy to notice and acknowledge your anger and let your emotions flow through you. There's no need to feel guilty about directing anger of your departed to God or to someone else or even at yourself. Again, it's very normal to experience the emotion of anger after your loved one has passed. Please take comfort that you are one step closer in coping with your loss. Anger is our strongest emotion, as it covers up all our pain, all our fears, all our sadness underneath. Anger is a natural and normal part of grieving, as long as we are not being destructive. However, getting stuck for a long period of time in chronic anger can lead to unresolved grief. Complicated grief is like being on an ongoing heightened state of mourning. When anger is formed, it can cause a disruption of the grieving process, such as suicide grief, where your anger might be towards your loved one for abandoning you or leaving you with a legacy of grief, or angry with yourself and others for missing clues about their suicidal intentions. I would like to share with you all about a dear friend of mine called Laura, who committed suicide 3 years ago. And just talking about it now brings tears to my eyes. We had met in London, England, where I was born, and kept a friendship for as long as 20 years. During our friendship, she was diagnosed with seasonal affective disorder, which is SAD. It's a type of depression that's related to changes in season. Her symptoms normally started in the fall and continued into the winter months. It sapped her energy and made her feel moody. She found a treatment that included light therapy, which I think is called phototherapy, where she would sit in front of a special lamp for a certain amount of minutes in the day during the winter months. She was also on medication, which I knew she did not keep up with, and that was difficult for her to understand that even though she may be feeling good one day, doesn't mean she should stop taking her medication. Well, I eventually moved here to America, and we kept in contact via text and the odd telephone call. And as I was saying, 3 years ago, I received a text message telling me she had hung herself. I was in disbelief and horror. I eventually started thinking, if I was there with her in England, she may have reached out to me and her death could have been prevented. But I knew her history of attempted suicide throughout her life, and this time, sadly, she was determined. Here is another complicated grief when a loved one has been murdered. You may feel anger longer and deeper than the other deaths. A horrible injustice has been done to your loved one, family, friends, and the world. And the death of a child, considered the single worst stressor a person can go through. For parents who have lost a child, the pain is indescribable. They are not just losing a person they loved, they're also losing the years of promise they had looked forward to with their child. Anger is a valid emotion. Anger is a good emotion. When challenged correctly, you can do many, many good things. For example, bringing into a new law, setting up memorial for your loved one. During my time as a bereavement counsellor, I also trained with the organisation called Place to Be as a child's play therapist. I worked with children from the ages of 4 to 11 years old, helping them in their time of grief. I will do a special video for you if you have children going through grief. Their grief could be due to the loss of a parent and now getting used to the changes of being in care, either foster homes or being put up for adoption. Or it could be a loss of a sibling. I will share within that video some simple and very effective activities that can be introduced to your child and also to the family to help in your process of healing. So until next time, take good care of yourselves, and remember to give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and share with anyone who you know that's going through the process of bereavement. God bless.